Welcome to another episode of Fired Up for Friday. And this Friday, February 20th, 2026, is another killer Friday with some great metal releases. We got some thrash, we got some death, we got some shoegaze. Stick around for the album of last week, where I tell you what my favorite album was from last week's releases. And if you're in a band, a label, a PR, and you want your releases featured on Fired Up for Friday or some other aspect of the Metal Institute of Thrashology, please feel free to reach out to me at Metal Institute of Thrashology at gmail.com or find me on the socials. I'm Mike Thrash. First up this Friday, we got the Hopeless Romantics in Exhumed with their 10-song full-length titled Red Asphalt. Look at the cover. Of course it's going to be called Red Asphalt. The asphalt's red. And on this one, you can definitely judge a book by its cover. The Kings of Blood-Soaked Riffs are back with a 10-song full-length, full of some of the scariest stories known to man. Real ones. Telling tales of the road as only Exhumed know how to. Horror stories, of course. There isn't nothing new and innovating or groundbreaking on this album, but what Exhumed does do, they do it damn well. There were guitar tones of absolute perfection, thick rumblings from the bass, and truly a surprising amount of grooves on this one. Maybe it was the volume I had this thing cranked up to, but I found out it was easier just to let the head bang than try to turn the volume down. Especially because my kids kept screaming to turn it down, so I had to turn it up. They were interrupting the riffs, so don't worry, I grounded them. And I found it extremely easy to press the play button on this one, but extremely hard to let this one stop playing. But this was one busy as hell week, so we had to keep it moving. Make sure you leave yourself an appropriate amount of time to get listens in on this one. It's truly great. Out on Relapse Records this Friday, check it out. The whole thing. It's great. Therefore, I'm giving this one an 86. Up next, we got the sophomore release from the shoegazy outfit Trauma Ray, titled Carnival. And there's no slumping on this sophomore second release. Just soaring shoegazy moments that remind me of mixing the Deftones and the Smashing Pumpkins together for one cool-ass collaboration. And it sounds like they blended both styles evenly while keeping a soft airiness about the music throughout this entire effort. And this was my first foray with Trauma Ray, and I really liked it. So I'm sure it's not going to be my last. And hell, I gave the promo several spins because it was just too good to stop at one. I really like the mixing and production on this album, as having the vocals a little bit lower in the mix allowed me to focus on the musicality and the atmospheric elements even more. The lyrics paired with the tones made this a bit introspective for me. And this is one of those albums you could just put on and let play for hours, just getting lost in. Out on Dice Records, I hope that's how you pronounce it, and I'm giving this one 81, just pulling into the B range right there. Next up, we got Bethlehem's Finest. And I'm not talking about that Jesus dude, but rather the progressive thrash and death metal outfit titled Dissentience with their latest EP, Kaiju. And this was my first time discovering Dissentience, and I'm so glad I did, as I was unfamiliar with their previous work, Empire Anatomy. But after hearing this EP, Kaiju, I'm heading over as soon as I finish this video and checking it out. And if you happen to be unfamiliar with Dissentience too, do yourself a favor and check out Kaiju. It walks a fine line between thrash and death metal, and it has a few traces of melody, but not enough to water it down, making this one solid but heavy listen. And this has grandiose cinematic soundscapes, backed by tales of Japanese monsters, political collapse, social unrest. Sounds literally like 2025 that we just closed out. Which, if that's the case, wouldn't that be scarier than Godzilla or any other Japanese monster? And to be fair, it was kind of hard for me to catch the storyline. There's a lot going on, and I just didn't have time to listen to this 35 or 40 times. Not that I didn't want to, but I just didn't have the time. And while I did listen to this several times, I feel like I'm only scratching the surface. Meaning, there's a high replayability on this one. And This one kind of caught me off guard, but landed a little higher than I thought it would, so I'm gonna give it an 84. As a spin-off of the transgressive metal project, Alicia Cordisco's newest project, the Recreant, is battle ready with their debut offering, The Code is V, Outlive the Code. And The Code is V, Outlive the Code offers listeners anthemic razors with lyrical content of empowerment for the groups that have been oppressed and marginalized for far too long. And I think we can all relate to that message, as we've all been disrespected, marginalized, feeling kicked to the curb once or twice in all of our lives. And it sucks. It really sucks to feel that way. But you know what doesn't suck? This thrash album. And I can relate to this killer thrash that's delivering this much needed message. And what a perfect time for this delivery to arrive. With the erasure of civil liberties and the government just treading all over constitutional rights, this is one heavy battle cry. Hopefully those affected can find resolve in such a positive, anthemic rager that is sure to empower most. Again, if you're not familiar with Alicia's other project, Transgressive, check that out too. It's another killer band with more killer music. I'm giving this one an 80, a kick-ass debut from the Recreant. And I was absolutely smitten when I saw this slab of wax was coming. Illinois heads and Necronomicon x Mortis are back with their latest EP, Zombie Blood Nightmare. Seems like forever and a day ago, I interviewed their guitarist, Michael Nystrom-Bala, links somewhere, and we discussed his love and passion for horror and occult movies, which gave Necronomicon x Mortis several releases with horror-themed and blood-tinged lyrics. And surprisingly, with so much death and decay, this album felt new and fresh and full of life. Who would have guessed? Isn't it ironic? Don't you think? It's like rain on your wedding day. It was those dancing leads that melted more than my face, as when the tone switched from the bright leads to the crunchier rhythms, they also melted my heart. It's some groovy stuff they got going on here. While this is definitely thrash metal through and through, it definitely has some death metal and even some melodic death metal leads. Blackened vocals help that feel, and you can definitely tell where these influences come from. And it's these heavy tones that keep Zombie Blood Nightmare from rising up from the dead, as I thought this EP was heavier than a tombstone. And Necronomicon x Mortis have released another killer thrash EP to stand next to all their other killer thrash EPs. Don't miss this ripper, I'm giving it an 82. And now it's time for the album of last week. The powerhouse known as Converge is back with another full length, and maybe their most raw release, titled Love Is Not Enough. Out on Epitaph Records, which has been one of my favorite record labels, churning out quality since I was a young teen or maybe even preteen. I don't know, I'm old. But what they lack in length, they make up for with raw aggression and emotional weight. And what feels like their heaviest release to me emotionally. Or maybe it's just the most emotional times that I'm living in. But it does feel paralleled by these tense tracks. And from the moment I pressed play, this album seemed to just build momentum as it flowed on. And it somehow got heavier and heavier as the album went on. Not that the music became heavier, it just felt a hell of a lot heavier. Again, I think it's that emotional weight. But being that it's Converge, I'm here for it all. And while I didn't enjoy this album as much as I did Necro Palace by Worm, I thought it was kind of unfair that I gave Worm a review last week, but I didn't give Converge one, so I chose them for album of last week, although I did enjoy Worm's Necro Palace slightly more. Still a banger of an album by Converge that's definitely going to please a lot of people. So if you missed that release or Worm's Necro Palace, go back and check them out. I have a feeling they're going to be on a lot of people's lists rolling into late this year. I'm giving Converge an 84. So what are you looking forward to this Friday coming out? Are you looking forward for any of these albums coming out? Did you even know these albums were coming out? Are there albums coming up in the future I need to check out? Let me know. Most importantly, thanks for watching. See you in the pit.